Welcome back to my daily vocal routine. To be honest, I wanted to talk about Gojo a little bit. Originally, I didn't want to, but I actually seen a Twitter account that I thought was rather cute, and it's basically counting the days on how long Gojo has been sealed within his box. If you were to take an initial guess on how long it's been, how many days do you think? Potentially how many years? You're probably recoiling in the back of your chair, thinking years, question mark. Well, it hasn't been that long, but it has been supposedly 714 days since Gojo got sealed away. I don't know if this has had the same effect for other people, but for myself, this has kind of caused a little bit of existential dread because I did not realize it has been that long since Gojo has been sealed. That is almost 2 years. Basically lines up, it makes a whole lot of sense, but it doesn't feel like it's been 2 years since Gojo got sealed away. If anything, it feels like it's been 6 months, maybe a year at most, but almost 2 years? That definitely ruined my day. So what we're going to do to make up for it is we're going to talk about two different things for Gojo. One, why him being sealed away is so important, and two, what would be the outcome if he wasn't sealed away? Would it be good? Would it be bad? Would there be some very interesting difficulties that Akatami as an author would have to face? Hopefully we can answer at least some of those questions. So with that, let's begin. One of the greatest things about Gojo is how easy he is to scale within this story, at least theoretically. The story basically does everything for you in showcasing what he is truly like. How powerful he is, how powerful he can be, and a specific side of him that is left unknown. This side of him is very monstrous, is very destructive, and we only see a very small glimpse or portion of it, but it's unrivaled. To put simply, a serious side that is barely within the main story and has yet to be seen within the current day. When writing a story with this character in mind, the way this information comes across is very vital. Information in general, obviously, is very important, but for this type of character that is inherently strong, that tears over everybody else, there has to be one or two things there. Either a lot of focus in regards to information or almost none at all. And you'll notice a lot of stories that rotate around very powerful characters being more so mysterious. They're very passive. They're within the background. You will barely see them, and if you do see them, it's usually before or after they've actually done something. So you may come across a town or a very powerful character that's already been completely obliterated by this other very powerful character. Gojo, however, is someone that is within the front of the story. He is very obnoxiously within the front of the story, and there's a kind of a very perfect and somewhat even symbolic reason for this, is that the world inhibits it. The reason why Gojo is so obnoxiously in the front, even though his character or where he would want to be personally is anything but that, the structure, both politically and power-wise, rotates around him. This is curses, this is powerful sorcerers, this is everything in between, from small to big, rotates around him. And it's because of his ability, it's because of how strong he truly is. If anything, he is not only the foundation of Jujutsu Kaisen, but he's also the end of it. Almost like an era within itself. The Six Eyes ability, the era of Satoru Gojo, is a completely pivotal thing. Just this name, just him being around, just him being alive, creates some sort of balance within the world. And Akatami has done a beautiful job to make Gojo a completely independent character. That's why so much attention is given towards him, so you completely understand what side he is truly on, how he feels about certain things. And he plays it up with this very goofy and carefree attitude, but he has so much deep love for his students, for his underlings, and he's not necessarily that much older than all of them, but he's changed very rapidly. He's grown to the situation, he's become accustomed to the world, he knows the ins and outs of it, but even then, the amount of power that he has does not contort or twist the politics within the world. He could easily obliterate everyone. He could destroy the politics within Kaisen that are extremely outdated, that have this level of toxicity within it that is disgusting at best, and at its worst, something potentially unimaginable. But But doing something like that creates a whole new problem that he potentially can't fix. He could band-aid over it, he could try and portionally heal it, but having all of this power doesn't answer all of his problems, or doesn't answer all of the world's problems that Kaisen has. This also comes into the form of the complete opposite variation. The reason why he's sealed away to begin with is the curses. Without Gojo being around or interfering, the curses can evolve, they can thrive, and the sealing cap or the era of Gojo specifically is no longer a thing. And for me, this has created a really interesting kind of perspective of the story. Just sealing away Gojo himself, this severity has shifted. It has changed. There is a lot more at stake now, because if they can't get Gojo back for whatever reason, which I think we all know they will to some extent, we just don't really know in what way or how long it will take, if they don't know that. So their desperate actions have to reflect that. And the result of that is some of the most beautiful and scariest development and growth for our characters. This is matched with some of the biggest events within the entirety of the story. And this is only possible because Gojo is not here to balance it out. That is how much of a vital pillar he has played within the story. He upheld the balance of everything, and without him, that balance relies solely on the people on either side. Will the sorcerers uphold this power and to push themselves further and to evolve rapidly with the landscape, or will the curses out-evolve them? Will the wrongdoings and evil within the world rapidly overthrow them? We've seen that directly. It shifts the tone of the story in its entirety into something that we haven't really witnessed before, which makes it even more engaging and entertaining and kind of recontextualizes the beginning of the story. Gojo doesn't need a deep amount of development or growth that lingers into his power because he's already there. So if or when he eventually gets unsealed or broken out of that prison realm, he is 100% ready to go. And I do believe we will see a side of him that we have not seen before, but we need people to scale with it. We need stuff that actually would put up a decent fight for Gojo. And the only two people currently that could probably do it is a full-powered Sukuna and a completely transformed Kenjaku. Unless there is people that come back within the culling games, but it would seem that the people within the culling games are more so a evolving point for people like Megami, for example, and Yuji and everyone else, Hakari, Yuta, etc., for them to get more powerful. You see how rapidly they are going. They have to jump very quickly, and it was always going to happen as soon as Gojo got sealed away. Yuji would become more powerful, Megami would become more powerful. We've seen it instantly and first with Maki. Yuta comes back into the story, who's considered one of the most powerful. Hakari comes back into the story, who too is also considered one of the most powerful. Panda experiences a very sad and torturous situation and is eager to be more powerful and angered by it. All of these people have just bloomed so effortlessly in the response of Gojo being sealed away. What the culling game produces, however, in terms of its effects being long-term, I assume will directly correlate with Gojo. So whatever happens with Yuji and Sukuna within the culling games, whatever happens with Megami or his domain or the big Magarama ability thing, and then obviously Tengen and Kenjaku with whatever he actually transforms or transcends into. Gojo will face most likely those very powerful beings. It won't be a complete wash, but I do think we'll see a side we haven't seen before. So you're probably saying that all of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. What else is there to the conversation? What if Gojo wasn't sealed away? How would the story be changed? When I think about Gojo not being sealed away, keeping him within the story but still trying to have a recontextualizing point for the story, it is very difficult. Gojo intrudes in very prominent situations. Not all of them, obviously, but stuff where everyone is, and these massive spurts of growth and development and change specifically, that being interrupted by Gojo becomes a very difficult thing. So the only way that you would ever really be able to push forward with a story like Kaisen and still have those growth and personal developmental moments is have Gojo be occupied. So artificially, you would have to bring in characters that somewhat rival Gojo, or at least challenge him to some extent within a singular department. It most likely wouldn't be the entire arsenal of his abilities, but maybe a character is borderline immortal and can't be destroyed by Gojo, or maybe one character is super quick and can't be catched, or maybe one overpowers him in regards to strength, or maybe even intelligence. So complete simplicity, different pockets of specific powers or elements, etc. To me personally, this is more of a boring route to go. It's very on the nose, it's very simple, standard, really. There's not all too much flexibility or creativity you can bring with it. It's more so just to keep him occupied within the background, something that gives us enough time as readers and Akutami enough time as an author to bring the actual main cast of characters forward. The issue that would come into play very quickly, and a very glaring one at that, is that with what Kenjaku is doing now with the culling games is only possible because Gojo is sealed away. I truly doubt if Gojo was alive that the culling games would actually be successful. The chances of him domaining over it, probably not the whole thing because it's extremely large, but pockets of it and flying through it and just obliterating everyone to close it quickly would probably be the most accurate thing. And there's really not much alteration that Kenjaku can do unless he brought in a rule. This would honestly be the only way that I think it's possible. That one of the inherent rules of the culling games is that, similar to the boundary at the beginning of the story, Gojo could not join the culling games. He could not interfere with it in any way, shape or form, and this would create a stressor. And I feel the most appropriate path you could take with Gojo, if he wasn't sealed, is the mental and emotional route. And the reason behind him being sealed to begin with, having all of this information of a very old friend that he thought was dead flood his mind, you could play on this. You could take this a whole lot further. You could build doubt in the mind of one of the most powerful sorcerers to exist, and doubt within this world is very dangerous. Doubt within himself, doubt within his abilities, doubt within what he thinks is right and wrong, and this could spiral out of control to his family, to his bloodline, to his usage within the world. This would be played upon and amplified by the rule that the culling game would most likely have to introduce, that Gojo could not join or interfere with it in any regard. So he's just a sitting duck. He's watching his underlings, the people that he cares for, die or fight so desperately to change something. And he, the most powerful being, has no say of it whatsoever. Do you see how within this whole quote-unquote what-if situation, probably one of the best ways to go about Gojo is making him more relatable, making him more human, taking him down a mental route, maybe looking more at his past, his childhood, looking at his emotions, his mentality, how he feels about people, how he feels about himself, how he feels about the balance that he plays within the world. I think as interesting this conversation is in regards to Gojo not being unsealed and the whole what-if situation, what Akutami has managed to achieve in such little time, in basically under 100 chapters for Gojo, bringing all of this attention, love and appreciation, even a flashback story for him, to thus being sealed away and recontextualizing the whole beginning of the story in response to it, is honestly probably the best way it could have gone. It's basically perfect. It is, in my opinion, completely thought out prior to it actually happening. This is an event that you don't really stumble into, and I believe what I've talked about both in the what if department and the prior kind of dissection of it kind of showcases that. Powerful characters like Gojo are difficult to control. They're very unpredictable. They have an immense, unlimited amount of power and influence on the entire structure of your story. If you are not focusing on that character, if you don't give them a purpose or have some sort of outline for what they're meant to be or where they're meant to go, they are going to control your story because everything will evidently rotate around them. If you start to bring in powerful villains to try and match that level, it just turns into who's stronger than who. And at the end of the day, that's not a bad thing, but it loses that nuance because you have to continuously one-up yourself every single time. So you're just going to rinse and repeat this formula. It's going to turn truly down the direction of a battle manga, where the only way Gojo can be defeated is by a villain that's even more powerful. But the way that villain is brought in is by sheer coincidence. There's no real depth or potential for it, but more so just a response to Gojo himself. This, for me personally, feels completely one-dimensional. A villain being in response to only one character that isn't even your main character, but because they're so powerful and because you need to get them out of the story, or at least need to have them occupied or busy so they can't deal with whatever the main character is potentially dealing with. This is the very reason why Gojo has been sealed away, why this story can thrive thrive and evolve and change into something else entirely, so when Gojo does potentially become unsealed, he won't just wreak havoc everywhere with ease. He will face difficult opponents and even more difficult hurdles when he comes to realize what has actually happened. However, when that day comes, you will see a completely different side of him. One filled most likely with rage, but more so emotional rage. When he finds out everything that has happened to the people that he loves, to the people that he keeps in close company, he won't stop. And the only people that will realistically put up a fight for him is once again full-powered Sukuna or transcended Kenjaku. And at this point, that is what the culling game is building, alongside many other varying factors that grow alongside of it. I'm not sure how Akutami came to this decision with Gojo, but I'm more than happy that he did. And it was a perfect choice for a character that is so vital, that is the heartbeat to Jujutsu Kaisen. Because when he returns, it will most likely be the ending of the story, or at least very close to it. Which sadly enough, we are going down that path very rapidly. And sooner or later, we will see the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen within sight. But fingers crossed behind that, Satoru Gojo is hopefully there. Endtime. So welcome to the end of the video. If you have made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you. But I would love to hear your thoughts about Gojo. Him being sealed away, the what if version if he wasn't sealed away, and just him in general. Do you feel like this was a perfect portrayal of a character that is way too powerful? One that had to be taken out of the story, or at least backseated so other people could thrive and grow? I would love to hear your thoughts within the comment section below. But with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you within the next one. Goodbye.